Hi, this is Jonathan Rosenhead, the Jerusalem psychotherapist. This week's Torah and Psychology post for Pashat Vayeishev is going to look at what is referred to in psychology as individual differences or uniqueness. That every person has unique qualities, and there are things that create a distinction between one and another that actually is an expression of a person's individual difference. And this week's Parsha, and the Parshas that we're reading in terms of the Shvatim, the 12 sons of Yaakov, really does give us an understanding and an insight into this idea of individual differences. We start to get an insight into not only the family dynamics, but through that, the complexity of the differences and the uniqueness between of all the sons. No more, certainly in this week's Parsha, this is highlighted with Yosef. We see the rivalry between the brothers, but we also start to get a feel of actually what it means to be an individual, what it means to be unique, and how it's important for a person to actually tap into this uniqueness to understand what its quality is and how it can be expressed. And certainly with Yosef, we see that he has certain qualities that we haven't seen before, that the Torah goes out of its way to describe his youth and his beauty, and that he was a handsome person, and the attention that he gave to his own physical appearance, that we see that the Torah is putting an emphasis, for Yosef at least, on the individual differences, on aesthetics, that it was something which was important for him. He placed value on aesthetics, on beauty and external appearance, and the Torah wants us to understand this. And furthermore, we have the cloak or the coat that Yaakov made for him, which is referred to in different ways in the Mefarshim in terms of what is this Ketonet Pasim. And the popular understanding at least, is that it was a colorful cloak, and it does appear in the Mefarshim that suggests that it was sort of a colorful material, a quality to the actual coat that was given to him. And I'd like to just develop this further, because it's not only is it looking at the individual differences and the uniqueness of Yosef through this idea of beauty, which was slightly different to our normal understanding of the tzaddikim of the time. He was Yosef a tzaddik, but we get an insight into the individual qualities and characteristics of Yosef. And this cloak is another way that this individual differences manifests, and is actually an expression of this. Because of Soloveitchik, if we go back to Parshas Noach, discusses the rainbow, how the rainbow was multicolored, it has these different colors, the way that it's expressed, the way that the light is projected, it creates these different colors. And Rosh Hashanah says and develops that this idea is that it's an expression of diversity, of different colors of people. That everybody's different, everybody has a different color. And therefore, for Noach, at least, it was a message, and for the world, of the understanding and appreciating and accepting the diversity in the world, understanding that everybody has a quality to them. This is the idea of the rainbow. And if we apply it over here, this is certainly applicable to what we are learning out in this week's Parsha, and is actually being expressed through Yosef Tzaddik. The Yosef Tzaddik actually represents this idea of diversity, of uniqueness, and we understand that everybody has their own qualities. And this is the cloak that he had, whether it was multicolored, had different colors, or it was colorful. We can take this idea of Soloveitchik to say that Yosef represented this idea of individual differences. And he actually, as we see, when he had these dreams and he saw himself, and rightly so, had these dreams of him becoming a leader over his brothers, then we can say that he had this role to play on behalf of all of the brothers, not to create rivalry, but to try to actually be an expression of this idea of individual differences, of uniqueness, that as a leader for the brothers, it was an example for the brothers to understand through these dynamics within this family. Everyone has to understand their own personal, unique qualities and characteristics and individual differences. And this was, perhaps we could say, was Yosef's role as being the leader, of having these different qualities that the Torah really goes out of its way to focus on. And we see later on in the Parshas, other brothers, amongst his brothers, we see that certain certainly they start to come to the fore, and we see their personality, and we see their characters, and we see how they bring their personality and individual differences and uniqueness into the parashiyos and into the fabric of the stories of this week's parashas. And this is what we can take out. We take out from this week's parasha, from Yosef, certainly as a strong example and expression of individual differences and uniqueness, that everybody has to tap into that. Everybody has to know how they can bring it out and express it in their life in the right way, and in the way that Hashem has desires, you can say, because He has given us these qualities. And it's not necessarily an easy thing to do, and it's a challenge. But this is the cool of this week's parasha, I think, and the coming parashas, that we want to try to identify and recognize our uniqueness and the individual differences. We don't have to compare ourselves to other people, but to understand within the dynamics of human interactions, we have our own unique individual personality. And this is our task that Hashem has given us, to tap into that and to use it in the best way possible in our life. Have a great Shabbos and keep well.